Good morning. My name is Samantha Mirabal with Melco's application team. We're doing our design shop talk today to try to get some questions answered for you. If you have questions while we're live, both on Facebook and YouTube, type them in on the chats. Don't send them privately. I don't tend to see those while we're live. I've got another chat box up on my other monitor here where I can keep track of any comments that come in. So let me make sure both platforms are actually up. There's Facebook. YouTube says it's up, but I don't see me, so, but I see the splash screen, so hopefully it's just paused or something. All right, cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the questions that were sent in ahead, but like I said, go type in whatever you've got into the chats, and we'll try to get those done as well. All right, so, good morning, Mike. Thanks for joining today. How can I make my design screen larger? When I go through the project window and change the sizes, I get the same size screen, but my words need a magnifying glass to read. Honestly, I have no idea what you're asking here. I mean, the screen is the size of the monitor. I don't know what it is we want bigger to be able to help you. So if you can clarify, maybe I can help then. Good morning, Terry. Thanks for joining. Yeah, I don't know. Can you show me how to pull up the O with 2 dots above it? It's the French letter O in the Elegant Script font. Okay, so let's go look at that. So those are special characters. So not all fonts have them. So if you look at this one, this code sheet shows you everything. So this one has it. So we're good to go with that font. So what you would do is, I'm just going to type E and O, because those are 2 of the letters. So to get those dots, what you want to do is you want to go into the properties and see this little character list thing. You want to click on that. And then over here, you've got all the different characters. So right there is the O. You just double click on it and it adds it. So I can delete that other ones and hit apply. Let's see, where's the baby E? There's the little E if you're writing Noel, things like that. So that's all there is to it. You add your character here. Now, if the font doesn't have it, then you don't have a ton of options per se, but these fonts have it. So like that one has it. You just have to look through the code sheet. Some of the older fonts don't, like that one doesn't. That's all the characters it has. So, while the newer fonts have a lot of the European characters as well. Okay? But it's as simple as that. You turn on this character list, select the letter you want, add it to the pile, and there you have it. That's cool. Anyway, so yeah, that's how you add the fonts with special characters. All right. So, trying to think. I did see another question. These are the only questions I had sent in. So if you have a question, please type them. There was another one I saw fleetingly online asking about the Merrow stitch and doing sharp corners. So if you have this thing, you turn it into a decorative, you turn it into, not that, slow. Yeah, and then you do the decorative stitch as the faux patch border, and you get a sharp corner. So the question they had was, hey, I've got a box with rounded corners. The client doesn't like it. How do I make the Merrow stitch have square corners? You just draw it just like I did there. So I did decorative, selected the square box, draw it. Well, I did walk normal. I didn't actually change it to decorative. Change it to decorative, change it to the faux patch border, and there you go. Faux patch border with square edges. It's pretty much that simple. How to reduce trims and designs. So that has a lot to do with looking at the design itself and planning out the path that you're going, right? So if you're going to, let's see. thought I had it, or this one. I was doing another class earlier. Okay. So for instance, all this black stuff, right? So all the black on this design, we can go through this and digitize all of these things, right? So I could come over here and say, all right, this guy here for just the black, right? So I can do this. And then I could do here. I'm just going to do a few of them. And maybe this guy. All right. So when I update this for auto trims, there's going to be trims everywhere, right? So this just happened that this one is close enough, so it didn't have it. But normally, actually, I'm going to go move the start over here and the stop over there. All right, so now I've got a lot of trims, right, just for those 3 elements I did. Well, if we plan out how we're going, where our starts or stop, what order it's sewing in, and those sorts of things, that's what you end up having to pay attention to for getting this to sew efficiently, right? So if I want to minimize the trims here, I probably would do it more like this. I would have that one first, have this start there, stop there. I could do a walk stitch over to this guy, and then that one would start there, and I would have it end over here. I'd do a walking stitch down to this guy, and then this one, I would have it start there and end there. So when I update the trims, now there's no trims on those 3 elements. So that's the puzzle aspect of digitizing, is how do you get around the design effectively in areas that are going to get covered over. Like I can do these running stitches because they're going to get covered up again with a satin stitch, right? So I can do that to quickly get from spot to spot, minimizing the need for trims. Like here, I could even do this one, you know, come on down to this one here, and then do that one across. Drag this guy down here, do a satin stitch across here. Then I could, again, travel up to this, so then I can go up and over. And then all these interior things, take that back, then we got to do this one. So then it would be after this guy's up and over, I'd probably come down here, do this one, covering up all these other lines, and then the very last thing would be the satin all the way around. But it's paying attention to your starts and stops and making sure that where one element ends, your next one starts, or it's close to it, right? So it's a planning exercise, and it's a thinking about what you're doing and how you want it to look and how you can arrange things so that it's efficient with the trims. I know when I started teaching a long time ago, people would ask me, does it really matter if I take 10 seconds, 30 seconds or a minute out of a design? I'm only doing 2 minutes. Does it really matter to save that much time? That's debatable, right? 2 minutes, is that worth spending an additional hour digitizing? Probably not, just sew the extra trims. But if I'm going to go sew 1,000 items, so I'm going to do 1,000 logos on a shirt, that's 1,000 minutes. That's time. That's real time and money. That it makes more sense to spend that little bit of time to optimize a design to save all of that effort. So that's just kind of, paying attention, and when you start digitizing, thinking about those sort of things up front are important. Particularly when you start getting into commercial, big production runs. It just makes you faster and lets you do more in less time. So, reducing trims is really just about looking through the design and optimizing it. First Fruit Corbin asks, I have a question about purchasing embroidery files. Is PES the best format? PES from the list? What's the best option? So I don't know. I usually get JEF or HUS. Those are the ones I usually, I'm trying to think. The ones I go for first is always JEF, second is HUS, and then third I go to the DST. I rarely use PES files. Some of the older ones, depending on when it was created, have this weird stitch in the middle that makes me mad. So it's just a return to origin, and they put a needle penetration there, and it's really easy to delete. It is not a big deal, but it makes me irrationally mad, so I tend to not use them. The newer versions that create them don't do that, but that's just why I tend not to use them. The best way to organize files that are identified numerically, I rename everything with what it is so that when I'm searching, I can search for stuff, right? So I tend to put a folder for like horses or whatever it is. So I actually put them by where I purchased them from. And then within those files, I've got the what it is, like a hot air balloon or a horse or a whatever, a tree applique, things like that. So I try to put the name so that when I go search for applique, if I can't remember who I purchased it from, I can just go to the high level where I store everything and search, hot air balloon. Does Jeff have the right color? So Jeff does store color information. The right color, that's debatable, right? So whatever software is used to create it for, the arc thread or the polyneon, whatever they did in their software, it's going to assign RGB or color information to it. When DesignShop opens it, it's going to convert that over to what it thinks that color is based on the data that was provided. So yes, it does save color information. It's generally pretty close, which is why I use it, because it's generally close enough where I can go, oh, that's a green, that's a red, that's a pink, that's a whatever, and I can go color it with the threads I own. I use the Madeira threads, so I'll just recolor it within DesignShop myself and then save it as an OFM. It's still a Jeff file, an expanded Jeff. It was just saved as an OFM to keep the whatever updates I put on it. Like, so this guy, these are all arc threads. If I were to go change these to, an 1842 or whatever, different colors, when I save this file, now these colors are going to be the ones that save, even though was something else to begin with. So Michael, did that help with the trims? And Corbin, did that help any? Sherry asks, how do you get clip art in, and what is the best format? So clip art, this is clip art. Generally what I always try to find is SVG or EPS. I like EPS better. So like this is an EPS file. That's a clip art. And you just open up your EPS and go. So once this is here, then I can, convert it, or I can add a stitch direction, or, and there's a bunch of ways you can handle this, but I can just come in here and add stitch directions and poof, I've got the digitizing already going. Okay, awesome. So it's EPS is probably my favorite. You can go and just drag in an image. So if I go open, and let's say you have a screenshot or a JPEG or a bitmap or something like that, you can go grab that and open it. It'll work. So from here, if you're trying to use it for auto conversions, the cleaner the art, the better it will be. So having an EPS or a vector is going to be better, because when things like this, when it's real pixelated on the edge, it may do some funny stuff. So like if I do the white, let's see. So notice it does I just did the white, so it'd grab that pixelated edge. But notice it's putting all these weird points in there that you wouldn't necessarily have. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but every now and then when you get that many points on top of each other, it'll add more needle penetrations in that area than you need. So it would require some cleanup, right? So if your artwork is really sloppy, when you're using the conversion things, it can get messy. So it's generally better to get the highest quality art that you can to get the best results, right? So the Stitch Graphic Region's a fun little tool, because it'll go and find all the borders, and and go ahead and digitize it. If I click on it, it does a pretty reasonable job. I see a few areas I could probably change, but when I look at it, that looks pretty good to me. That little bump and that little divot, I'd go change that one too, but that's just because I'm a little neurotic. But yeah, so yeah, you can, open up a graphic like this, pull it in. You can insert it. I usually just go open the file and go from there, Sherry. So does that help any? Good morning, Lorena. Thanks for joining. So what other questions might you guys have? So I talked about the faux Merrow, the conversions. I don't have any others that were sent in ahead of time, so I'll just waste a little bit of time while seeing if you guys have any other questions. I don't want to accidentally get off the live and all of a sudden then questions start popping up as soon as I hit stop streaming. That's nothing more frustrating. So let's see. Anything else? Okay. I'm looking at the calendar. Next Thursday. So next Thursday, I'm actually on a flight out of town when we're supposed to be doing this. So I'll need to get with, I assume we're just going to cancel it until the week after. So I'll be back on the 23rd, but I'll check with Melco. How do I like DS12? Oh, goodness, I love it. There's so many things that are cool in it. The save letter feature, all the decorative, I'm a big decorative fan, you guys know that. These borders are fantastic. So the border feature where you can come in, here, I did one earlier, where, it was FFA and Buffo, it was pretty, so I'm going to do it again. Buffo. So you have the ability to turn any font into an applique, which is pretty cool. So like that's an applique. I can then come over here and put a border on it and say, so maybe that's going to be a 50-point border that I want it strict, super close around it, and say okay, and then I'll put a border around it. So that's pretty fun. I can then come over and say, all right, on top of that, do a primer stitch. So the primer stitch, again, is another neat little feature on there where you can sew below it. The save letters, I mean, oh my goodness, all the stuff it does is just a lot of fun. These tabs are fantastic. So if I want to work on a file and I have something for reference over here, or I want to copy between the two and I'm trying to get similar things from side to side, the tabs are really great. So they can be one, they can be side to side. Is it easy to change computers after upgrade? Yeah, you just reinstall it, and then the security is all digital anyway now, so it's super easy to install. If I want to make my own fill, is there a hard way or an easier way to do it? So the fill stitches are very similar to decoratives, right? So you would just draw what it is. So if I come over here, just to give you an example, go into properties, turn that mess off. Okay. What a pretty one. Scales, they're pretty. There. We got a scaly cup now. Anyway, so check that. Look at the shape there. So that's the shape that created it, right? So you can use, just kind of looking through those, you're going to end up creating a shape and then saving it, and then you can apply it. So like if I click on it there, right click, save custom shape, and you can save it as decoratives, you can save it as things like that and apply it. And then you then have it available to apply to the shape you have. You know, so that could even be used as a regular fill, or you can turn that into a, stop it, change this from a regular fill to a decorative. I mean, there's so many fun things you can do. And then you can take that and give it different patterns. Ooh, and then you can apply effects to it. I mean, no, not that one. That's not that one either. Oh, that one's fun. I don't want to do that though. The distortion effects radial out. That's what I was trying to do. So I can apply kind of some dimension that way. You know, there's just a lot of fun stuff you can do with all of it. What other questions might you guys have? But yeah, do I like it? Yes, I love it. I still have 11 installed. I went back to look for something, to try something for someone else, and I was like, oh, that's not here. That's moved over here. It was just different. All right. Any other questions before I call it a day? Like I said, next week I'm actually flying into Boston to go race the Head of the Charles Regatta. So one of the boats I race on is actually competing, so that should be fun. It's like that one of those bucket list regattas. If you row, you want to go do it at some point. Well, we got an entry this year, so woohoo! Ready or not, here we come. Can you put typed words in a fill? Yeah. You're gonna make me remember how to do that. Let's see. Yes, you can. I might fumble around trying to remember how it's done. So let's see. I think. So there's a fill. Oh, I think you do it this way. All right. Copy. Oh, I remember. It's been so long. Oh my goodness. It's going to be that. Nope. Paste. Not it. Oh, I don't remember how it's done. Joe, you got me this time. I'm going to, rather than stumble around like a fool on the live, I'm going to go, it has to do with this. Copy clipboard shape and then you paste it on. But I don't remember what the magic was on that. And it's going to make me really mad now, so I'm going to end up playing with it for the rest of the afternoon until I figure it out. I know you can do this, though. So you can take this, and you can come over to the fill and do a subtraction. So if I select the fill, I select that. I can right-click there, make this 0, and I can tell it to subtract it. So then now I've got that stamped out. Oops, I got to remove the text and not. So I have that stamped out. So I know you can do it that. And then that's not it. All right, I'll figure it out and I will put that on the one for next time. So I apologize. Is there a rule to use satin or fill? Yeah, so 60 points or less. I'm sorry. Yeah, Joe, I don't do that often. In fact, I think it was probably 2 years ago or more I've done that, but I know I can do it, so it'll just take me some playing around to figure it out. But I will add that to the next week's or the next presentation so I can make sure it's there. Is there a rule to use satin or fill? So generally satin stitches are good up to about 60 points. Can you go a little bit bigger? Maybe to 70, but 60 is good. So yeah, you would have your satin up to roughly 60 points. After that, when it gets bigger than that, you go to fill. I would say when you're under 15 to 12, you'd want to go to a bean stitch. I mean, you can go a little bit smaller, but yeah. Oh, a repeating word. Well, you can make the word a decorative and then make that a decorative pattern. So that is an option. So let's see, right click, operations. Okay, I'd have to convert it. So you'd have to digitize it by hand or convert it to wireframe and then turn it into a decorative. And then you could do that, and then the start would have to be down here. Start and stop on the same point. Joe, that's a good one. So let me play with that some and get you a few solutions for the next talk. I'll make some examples rather than me sitting here waving my mouse at the screen. That's going to take me a minute to make the examples. Okay. Michael, did that help you with sizes? So I'd say under 12, probably a bean stitch or a running stitch. 12 to 15, go to a satin stitch up till about 60. You might be able to get away with putting it up to 70. After that, you would want to go to a fill stitch. Thank you for the luck with the airports. So, yeah, because I'm going to Boston and then Philly 2 weekends in a row, one and then the next. It's like race to race. The Philly one, though, I get to row on the Schuylkill with my daughter, so it's the mother-daughter race. It's just novelty fun. She's 13, so that's just entertainment. Okay, I will work on some examples. Yeah, yeah, you can get away from fill stitch just by doing satin stitches up to about 60 points. So if it's going to be a left chest logo, you would have to design it such that all the elements are relatively small. Otherwise, you're going to have to use fill. Or you can do an applique, I guess, if you want to get rid of fill stitches. All right. Well, I'm pleased someone actually stumped me today. It doesn't happen often, so that actually is entertaining for me. All right. Well, I guess that is it for today. Unless we do it early, I'm not going to be around next week, so it'll be in 2 weeks I'll be back. I will run it by Melco and see what they want me to do, but I'm guessing we'll just be back in 2 weeks. All right. You guys have a great week, and I have some fun sewing. I will talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.